electric meter. An electric meter measures the amount of electricity used, which is measured in kilowatts hours. Now we will learn about the parts of an electric meter. In an electric meter, you will notice there are 5 dials, namely dial A, dial B, dial C, dial D, and dial E. And in second, we have what we call a pointer. A pointer is the one that indicates the current reading. It is used to determine the total consumption. And now, we have a register. A register is a numerical display that shows the accumulated reading from all the data. And now we have what we call a numerical scale, which is labeled with a number from 0 to 9 that indicates the power consumption. Now let us learn how to read an electric meter. Please take note that inside the dial, the pointers will alternately turn into clockwise and counterclockwise. The dial measures the number of the kilowatt hour you use in tens, hundreds, thousands, and 10,000. Now let us start. How do we read an electric meter? The first step is to read all the dials from right to left, starting from dial E to dial A. The second step is to read the numbers by the pointers of the dials. Take note that when the pointer is between the two numbers, the lower number will be recorded. Now we have to remember that if the pointer points exactly on a number, we have to check the dial to the right to determine its correct reading. We also have to take note that if the dial on the right has passed 0, then we will use the number the pointer is pointing in the dial that we are reading. But if it has not passed 0, then we will use the smaller number. Now, let us read our problem. First thing that we need to do is read first the present and previous reading. Again, we have to read first from right to left, or from dial E to dial A. Now, let us read our dial E. In dial E, the pointer points exactly at 2. Since it does not have a dial to its right, 2 will already be our dial E. While on dial D, the pointer points in between 5 and 6. So we get the smaller number, which is 5. And now, in dial C, the pointer points in between 7 and 8. Now we get the smaller number, which is 7. While in dial B, we can see that the pointer points in between 1 and 0. So we will get the smaller number, which is 0. And lastly, we can see that the pointer on dial E point exactly at number 1. Again, we have to remember that if the pointer points exactly at a number, we need to check the dial to its right to determine the correct reading. Here in the dial to the right, which is the dial B, has already passed 0, which means that we will record where the pointer exactly points in the dial, which is number 1. Now, let us read the previous reading. Remember, we will read from dial E to dial A. First, we will read the dial E. In dial E, the pointer points in between 7 and 8. So, we get the smaller number, which is 7. While in dial between 0 and 1. Since 0 is the smaller number, we write 0 as our dial beat.